Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another third stimulus check unemployment benefits extension update. So in today's update, I want to talk a little bit more about the tax side, to basically the stimulus checks and the unemployment, basically answering another really common question I know some people were wondering, which is about when is the best time to file your taxes, or when should I physically file my taxes, especially for all of the different programs that are currently going on, like the unemployment child tax cut, small businesses, and you guys probably know the entire how long it basically stretches. Now obviously some of you guys have already filed your taxes. Maybe I'll touch up very briefly about that near the very end of this video, but the general idea is that if you are someone that has already filed your taxes, then the great news is that most of you guys are set. There might be certain things that maybe can come up, and we'll talk a little bit about it at the very end, very briefly. But in today's update, I really just want to explore when is the best time to really do your taxes. We do have relatively great news to share. The unemployment numbers also did recently come out, so I also want to briefly touch up on that. So we're going to get started right away, but before we begin, as always, make sure you smash the like button, especially in light of the fact we finally have an approval. Consider subscribing if you guys are interested for future videos that are very similar to this and other finance topics. And feel free, as always, to comment any questions, thoughts about honestly just really anything at all. If I overlook your comment, as always, feel free to just comment it in another recent video, but I try to get to as many as I can. So with that being said, let's just get started on the spot. So I want to really just start this by maybe taking a minute to kind of share the unemployment numbers right here, because they did actually recently just come out. I know that some people are wondering, and then also keep in mind is that like how the unemployment situation is doing as like a whole across the country, it will potentially impact any kind of potential future extensions, in the sense that the harder it will be for the economy to recover, especially with so many of the different job losses, the more that we can maybe see more unemployment programs come up. So it kind of really goes both sides. But basically last week, I believe the first week of March, we had about 770,000 people file for traditional unemployment, and 282,000, I think 394 people filed for PUA unemployment. So basically right now we are still getting about 1.1 million people filing every single week for unemployment. And keep in mind is that, for perspective, before the pandemic hit, I think that each week it was typically about maybe 200,000 people filing. And I think at this time, we have about, I think, 20-something million people claiming every single week, still actively on unemployment. And again, keep in mind is that there are probably people that are unemployed, but actually struggle to get onto the actual unemployment, whether this is for like state-specific or even just logistical reasons. So that's why it is a little bit skewed. So those 20-something million is just active filers. Now, when it comes to when is the best time to file your taxes, typically the best time to file your taxes is probably going to be just whenever you guys finally get your third stimulus check, but also when you guys follow up and really, I guess you can say when you guys really just learn and run through all of the different programs that actually exist out there. Because the really great news is that obviously is because there are a lot of programs that are out there. So I think it is maybe important to kind of just maybe take some time to really know all of the different potential ways that you can get a tax rebate, tax refund, or to waive certain parts of your taxes. Obviously the one that's the most common that I think most of us here at this point know, and I'll also put a video on it at the end, is probably the $10,200 unemployment tax credit. But also beyond this, there's also a lot of stuff, for example, like for child tax care, and also if you by any chance are still waiting for your first two stimulus checks, that's another thing that you can potentially write onto your taxes when you do file them. And I think because the big idea is that if you're still waiting for your third stimulus check, I think the reason why they recommend you to kind of just still wait off to do your taxes is only because this isn't a common thing, but it has kind of potentially can happen, is that there's been a lot of talks that if you do end up filing your taxes before you get your third stimulus check, unless you've already filed, because if you've already filed, then of course you've kind of already taken it care of, and you should be set. Again, keep in mind you should be set, but it just simply that, because I think they say is that if you do file your taxes now that it has officially been approved, there is a chance that if they end up finding a case, for example, where maybe they have your old taxes ready to go, but they also realize that they received your new taxes, but they're just kind of waiting to maybe process your new taxes, they maybe will go through, again, it's not common, but there is a chance that they may go through a very like slight delay to kind of wait wait till your new taxes are officially fully processed and then send out your stimulus checks. So it's really just because of the potential for that. Again, it's not common, but it's because of the potential of that. That's kind of why they recommend you to just really wait till you finally receive your third stimulus check, and then you guys can basically just file away. And then of course also when you kind of just run through and really understand all of the different programs, which we'll probably talk about a couple of them, we kind of already did, so consider subscribing if you guys haven't and that's something of interest. But we do have actually one really great news to share, and is that the great news is that the IRS actually announced, I believe yesterday, that they have now officially extended the deadline now to basically May. So the really great news is that now almost every single person here is going to basically have another 1 month, so basically I believe about 30 days to file their taxes. So the really great news is that if you guys still have any kind of like bills to basically pay, or you're just sorting out your finance, or honestly if you're just tired, I mean, I think it's a very common thing that especially after most of last year, I think that the motivation sometimes to just do things can be a little bit difficult to find. I think especially after most of last year for in many cases. So I think that just for whatever reason this is, whether this is because of a practical reason, like you need more time to sort out your bills, to settle your payments, to organize your finances, or if it's honestly just out of tiredness, then the great news is that almost every single person here should now have officially another extra 1 month to file their taxes. And I think also the big thing is that it's so that you guys don't have to rush through it at all. You guys can basically take the time, really read through all of the different programs, because there are a lot of programs. Again, keep in mind, whether this is from the unemployment tax cut, the child care, a lot of other specific programs, small businesses, certain state, local specific programs, to really be able to run through everything so that when you guys are hopefully finally ready, you guys can now go ahead and file your taxes. Because it's crazy, because originally they would have been doing about a month from like when I'm filming this, because right now is like the middle of March, so they would have originally been doing a month. But the great news is now you guys can get an extra month, so now we have basically now 2 months to file your taxes. I do know also another huge thing is that if you are filing through some kind of software, now this might have already changed by the time you're watching this video, but I do know that a lot of tax software like TurboTax, HR Block, they're hoping to also try to update their software so that it becomes easier for you guys to basically write off all of the different like tax programs you guys can potentially qualify for and really be able to understand. So I think the other big thing to maybe also wait for is also when your physical tax software is able to physically update and then get everything ready so that you guys can file it in hopefully the easiest and most smoothest way possible when they have everything finally updated. But I think the general idea is that once your tax software or however you file your taxes is finally ready to go and updated, once you have your third stimulus check, and then also once you really just understand all of the different programs, then I think it should be pretty safe and secure to just feel free to just file your taxes as soon as you possibly can, or just whatever you guys feel comfortable before the deadline. I do note though is that if you guys are trying to get your refund as soon as possible, or especially if you guys are still waiting for your first 2 stimulus checks and really want to get it fast, then that might be an incentive to maybe try to do it sooner. But the general idea is as soon as the other things that are taken care of, like the software, your third stimulus check, and then just really knowing all of the programs, then it should be safe pretty much to now just feel free to just file whatever you guys feel comfortable and wanted, of course before the deadline happens. Now if you are someone that maybe has already officially filed, then I think the great news is that you guys should pretty much be set as we just mentioned. The big thing to notice, and I know that there's still some confusion about it, is to just do not file an amendment. Don't file an amendment at this time, because I know there was a lot of confusion about that. In most years or most situations when something like this comes up, you guys would have to file an amendment, but I think the IRS is making a special case only because they know that there's probably millions of people that have already filed their taxes, so they know that in order to prevent some kind of massive server overload, like probably if you guys remember from March of last year, exactly a year ago. I think right now at this time is that they're hoping to try to just basically just take a pause and try to maybe sit still. They're hoping to maybe consider trying to make the adjustments automatically on their side. But if anything were to come up, they're probably going to email you information or just maybe possibly send it by physical mail about what to basically do beyond there. And the likelihood is it's probably going to be all over the news anyway, so you'll likely be able to find out if there was something to do in the future. But at this current time is that they're just hoping to have every single person just sit still and then maybe to wait around, and hopefully, you know, things end up just rolling over smoothly. But if anything, they'll probably let you guys know. But that's what I really wanted to share in today's update, so hopefully you guys found that insightful. If you guys did, remember to smash the like button, especially the fact that we now have an extra 1 month to file our taxes, which is the really great news. Consider subscribing and hitting the bell if you guys are interested in videos very similar to this one. I'll also put other videos at the very end, such as about the tax cut and all sorts of different programs if you guys are interested. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts about honestly just really anything at all. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.